Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs, je m'appelle DF et bienvenue à l'épisode final de Les Belles et la Bête. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. I'm DF, and welcome to the final episode of Beauties and Beasts, a podcast of all things Beauty and the Beast. Yes, the finale. I started this podcast about 4 years ago as a self-continuation of my first-year seminar in college, analyzing various adaptations of my favorite fairy tale, Beauty and the Beast. From books, to film, to TV, to manga, and anime. Honestly, I went for much longer than I thought it would. Once the pandemic hit, it was definitely something to keep me occupied and provide a small extra income. But now that I have new responsibilities and interests, this isn't something I like to spend my time on anymore. Now I'm creating a mini webcomic, queer-coded, on DeviantArt, and working on the writing staff of an indie cartoon, Colors of the Rainbow. More on that when the promos come out. The point is, I've got a lot on my plate. Now, while there are many other topics to cover, the truth is to cover them all would take a lifetime. Now, since the podcast began with an analysis of the Beauty and the Beast original French fairy tale by Madame Le Prince de Beaumont, it's only appropriate we end the series with not one, but two French film adaptations of said fairy tale. The first from 1946 by Janus Films with filmmaker Jean Cocteau. The second from 2014 by Pathé Studio and director Christophe Gans. Christophe Gans. Both of them follow the original plot by Madame de Beaumont. If you've forgotten it, you can re-listen to the very first episode of this podcast. But they both provide their own additions to this story. After all, if everyone followed the original story to a T, you'd just be watching the same movie over and over again. And one last shout out to all my patrons: Anime Guy 1101, Arvin Joshua Rocks 15, BellaPinkSavage, Cosmic Trail, Dead as a Doe, Metallicity, nalaxsimba, and TyrannosaurusVenom. Thank you for all your support and everyone else who contributed to this podcast. And thank you for the small gift that you just sent me, Cosmic, in the chat. I hope your patronage will continue through Patreon. The page is now live at patreon.com/DisneyFanatic2364. That's patreon.com/DisneyFanatic2364. I'm starting to get a little choked up here. My Redbubble shop will be staying open with my merchandise. With the U.S. Supreme Court overturning our constitutional rights, we need to celebrate LGBTQ pride more than ever. Also, you will find some Black Lives Matter merch as well available in my Redbubble shop. Just go to DisneyFanatic23.redbubble.com. And if you pledge to certain patron tiers, you can gain access to patron exclusive merch that you can't get anywhere else. So that's another reason to pledge. And while we're talking about voting for our basic human rights, my fellow Americans, make sure you vote blue this November and get Congress to pass a law to protect our abortion rights and all our other rights, from voting to education to marriage to contraception, that are under threat. Or if you are voting Republican, vote for the more decent officials. Use common sense this November, right? Don't just not vote, or vote solely based on party. We're not going down without a fight. Sorry to get super political there, but hey, when you're talking about Beauty and the Beast, you kind of had to get political. Especially considering today's topic. So, Cocteau's 1946 black and white adaptation of Beauty and the Beast stars Josette Day and Jean Marais. The title card reads, roughly translated, that children will believe what we tell them. They believe, listing off the magical elements of the movie. They believe 1,000 simple things. I ask you a little of this childlike simplicity, and to bring us luck. Considering the homosexual subtext of this film, this quote can be put into an entirely different perspective. Children will believe what we tell them. Oh, sorry, didn't I mention the homosexual subtext? More on that after the summary. Like in the fairy tale, we start with a merchant's family falling on hard times since his ships were lost at sea. With three daughters, the older two, Felicity and Adelaide, spoiled and vain, still acting like they're important, while the youngest, Belle, does all the housework, and one son, Ludovic, who is a gambler and a drunkard. His friend and drinking buddy, Avenant, is infatuated with Belle. This character would later inspire Disney's Gaston. He tells Belle she wasn't made to be a servant, and Belle insists that her sisters are much too beautiful to work. He asks her to marry him. She refuses, as she can't leave her father, and he tries to kiss her despite her protests. Hey, consent, buddy! Luckily, the brother, Ludovic, comes in and is like, hey, get off my sister, buddy! When he hears of the rejected proposal, Ludovic is like, bravo, Belle. I'm a scoundrel and proud of it, but won't have you marry one. Yeah, Ludovic ain't the most responsible man, but he loves and cares for his sister, and is definitely the best of the three siblings. And then Daddy gets the news that one of his ships has come into port, and he must go and gather the cargo. The sisters ask while he's in town to get them a parrot and a monkey, while Belle asks for a rose, as none grow here. Meanwhile, Ludovic is heavily in debt, and he makes a deal with his debtor that if his dad can't pay it when he returns, then they will take the furniture. But if you've paid attention to this podcast, you know how the story goes. The merchant heads home empty-handed, comes across the castle with food and drink. In this film, everything is served by disembodied hands. Later would inspire things like the Castlemania episode of My Little Pony and the Addams Family. I'm assuming. They got a disembodied hand as one of the recurring characters. The castle look also influenced later film and TV adaptations, including Disney, most notably in the 2017 remake. Watch these movies back to back and you'll see what I mean. In the morning, the merchant comes out to a garden of roses and picks one for Belle. Do I need to explain this part? You should know the story by now, after 87 episodes of this podcast. The Beast comes out, saying the merchant must die for the theft, stealing the one thing he loves most, unless one of his daughters takes his place. And he gives him 3 days to go home and sort out his affairs and come back and die unless one of the daughters comes instead. He offers his horse, Magnifique, who will take him home, then back if you tell him, go where I go, Magnifique. Go, go, go! The merchant returns home, tells his children and Avenant, who insists that they kill the beast, but the merchant says it's too risky and that he must pay for his crime. Although Belle feels guilty and cannot live without her father, so on the day he's supposed to go back, she takes the horse instead and says the words. When she arrives, in dramatic ballet movements, just to make it look extra dramatic, in the castle, she finds a beautiful room that opens up for her, with a mirror that shows her anything she wishes. When she sees things start moving, she runs outside in a panic and runs into the Beast, who asks where she's going. She is so horrified by his lion-like appearance, she faints. Yeah, not very strong-willed here. Instead of killing her, the Beast carries her to the beautiful bedroom, her plain clothes changing into a fine ball gown upon entering. He lays her down on the bed, and she wakes up to him staring at her like a creep. I know you haven't seen, a woman in probably ever, but geez, man, back off a little bit, okay? She needs some space. The Beast recoils, saying, never look me in the eyes. You will only see me at 7 each night when you dine in the great hall, but never look me in the eyes. Despite her terror, Belle goes to the great hall at 7 to meet her fate, and instead finds a feast of food. The Beast comes up behind her and asks if he may watch her dine. Weird. And Belle goes, you are the master? No, there is no master here but you. you find me repulsive. I cannot lie, and I'm not used to being waited on or wearing such finery, but I can see you're doing everything you can to make me forget your ugliness. I have a good heart, but am a monster. There are many men more monstrous than you, but hide it well. I'm not quick-witted. You're quick-witted enough to recognize it. I'm sorry, this dialogue's just so damn good, even in the English translation. The Beast offers her everything he possesses, and every evening he says he will ask her one question, always the same. Will you be my wife? She refuses, and he calmly, though dejectedly, leaves. And in this entire scene, she doesn't look at him once. Damn, I can't help but admire the direction and acting in this film. In the night, Belle is awoken by animalistic screams. Actually, where is it? And she finds the Beast with his hands smoking from a fresh kill, an animal, looking remorseful and tortured. He slips into Belle's room to do God knows what, is angry to find her gone, and demands the mirror show him where she is. Right behind him. And she's like, why the heck are you in my room? I came to bring you a gift. Out! Yeah, girl. Maybe his castle, but you gotta set those boundaries. At least he listens. The days go by. Belle sees the Beast do more animal-like things like drink from the river and chase after animals. Eventually, from loneliness, she walks with him in the day and notices him acting softer and more gentle. Starts to enjoy his company. But one evening at dinner, she falls to her knees, begging to see her father, and the Beast cries, Beauty, what are you doing? Belle, what are you doing? It is I who should kneel and take orders from you. And let me see my father for a week. When you come back, will you be my wife? She refuses again. And he says, if she doesn't come back, then he'll die of grief. And she's like, well, I don't want to cause you any grief. As she strokes his head, you stroke me as one strokes an animal. But you are an animal. Girl, I think he wants you to see him as human, not an animal. Hurt, he says that this is such a serious matter and he will have to think about her request. Later, the Beast asks if another handsome man has proposed to Belle, and she says yes, but she couldn't leave her father. Upon hearing Avenant's name, the Beast runs off in distress and takes it out on hunting. And that night, Belle is once again awoken by screams and finds the Beast right outside her door, covered in blood. And he says, forgive me for being a beast. Belle gives him a garment to dry himself with, and he screams for her not to look at him, for it burns when she looks at him in horror. Back home, thanks to the brothers' debt, Belle's family has lost all their furniture, and the father is bedridden. Thankfully, the debt collectors are nice enough not to take the beds, which Belle sees in the mirror. The Beast sees that she's ill, and she says that her father is dying. So, the Beast grants her a week to see him. But first, he shows her a grand building in the garden, Diana's Pavilion, the one place not even he may enter, containing riches, and it can only be opened with a golden key, which he gives to Belle as a show of trust. Hold on. We covered Bluebeard a while back. We know how this goes. Do we? And the Beast says if she doesn't come back and he dies, all those riches will be hers. Okay, never mind. That is a big show of trust. The 5 secrets of his power are his rose, his mirror, his horse, his key, and his glove, which will transport Belle home and back. He entrusts them all to her. After he bids her farewell, Belle puts on the magic glove and she is home, reviving her father at the joy of seeing her. She tells her father that she will have to go back to the Beast in a week, and that he's not really a monster. He's more cruel to himself than he is to others. And his eyes are so sad, and she'd be happy to help him forget his ugliness. And the dad is like, your kindness is gonna get you in trouble one of these days. In thinking of the beast, Belle starts crying diamonds, okay, that's random, and tells her father to use them to regain his possessions and not give them to her sisters. And meanwhile, the siblings are finally doing chores, although the sisters are doing it rather poorly. And Ludovic has been taking responsibility for his mistake by looking after his father. When they see Belle in a fine gown, they are instantly jealous. One of the sisters asks for her necklace, and Belle's like, oh sure, it'll look better on you anyway. But as soon as it touches her sister's hand, it turns to weeds, as was only meant for Belle. Belle tells her brother and Avenant of her magical experience at the Beast's castle, including the treasure in Diana's pavilion. Avenant, jealous when Belle speaks fondly of the Beast, plots with Ludovic to steal the treasure, and Ludovic, wanting to make up for losing his family's money, reluctantly agrees. After all, at the heart of it, he does want to take care of his family after he messed everything up. The sisters join in on the plot, as they are jealous of Belle and having her riches, using onions to appear sad that Belle is leaving, crying, you want your father and sisters to die of grief when you leave? And then they sneakily steal the key. Ah, man, preying on the guilt. So if she stays, then the Beast dies. If she leaves, then the sisters and father die. Not really giving her a winning choice here. When the sisters say Belle thinks that she's too good for them anymore, she runs off crying, and Avenant goes to comfort her, and to get information on how to get to the castle. He offers to take her far away, where she won't have to be a servant, and he will work to provide for her, be a better man. When she doesn't reply, he's like, you're thinking of that Beast. If he really suffered, he would rush over and carry you off as I would. He's forgotten all about you. Meanwhile, back at the castle, the Beast is missing Belle, burying his face in her bedsheets and crying into them. It may seem kind of creepy, it's also kind of heartbreaking. I mean, this guy has literally nobody else. On the day Belle is meant to return, the horse Magnifique comes to take her back to the castle, with the magic mirror in the saddlebag. Ludovic and Avenant take the horse instead, while the sisters look into the mirror to see themselves as an old lady and a monkey. And shocked by this, they just give it over to Belle. She sees the Beast dying in the mirror, and so she puts on the glove to send her back. But then she remembers the key and goes back home, only to find it gone. And then the mirror shatters. So Belle goes back and finds the Beast in the garden, dying. She puts a glove on him, hoping that it will heal him, saying that she is the monster for staying away too long and breaking her promise. Meanwhile, Avenant tries to unlock Diana's pavilion, but Ludovic, still unsure about the whole scheme, says that the key might trigger a magical alarm. So Avenant says that they should go on the roof and break through the glass. Yes, that's totally logical. Belle tells the Beast to get up and fight the grief, and he says, if I were a man, I could fight it, but poor beasts who wish to prove their love could only grovel on the ground and die. Sorry, I need a moment. Avenant breaks through the glass of the pavilion, and as Ludovic lowers him down, a statue of Diana, the huntress and goddess of the moon in Roman mythology, comes to life and shoots him with an arrow. Avenant then turns into a beast and falls to his death. And meanwhile, our Beast gets up and has turned into Avenant? What? Yeah, apparently this transformation was so disappointing that actress Greta Garbo famously shouted in the movie theater, "Bring me back my Beast!" And Cocteau got a lot of hate mail from disappointed viewers. Anyway, the prince was turned into a beast because his parents didn't believe in magic spirits, and only a loving look could save him. Love can turn a man into a beast, but can also make an ugly man handsome. Belle comments on how he looks like Avenant, and the prince asked if she loved Avenant. Yes. Did you love the beast? Yes. You're a strange girl. Yes! What the heck kind of logic was that? Are you disappointed that I look like this other man? Yes. No. Hold on. What? You're happy that he looks like him? The guy who forced himself on you? Who didn't respect your wishes? Who was totally possessive? Who said that he would kill his rival? And what? What? Okay, anyway. The prince takes Belle to his kingdom, where she will be queen, and reunite with her father, and her sisters will hold her train. Then as they fly away, he asks, "Are you afraid?" "I don't mind being afraid. With you." In 1983, Shelley Duvall did an English version of this film for her TV series Fairy Tale Theater, starring Susan Sarandon. Like, seriously, the dialogue is almost word for word, but in English. And because it's only an hour-long special, things like the brother are cut for time, and the handsome suitor is not a jerk, just not the one. At least that rival's a decent guy, she just doesn't love him. And at least in that version, they don't have the same actor playing the handsome suitor and the beast. Like, crap. So why did Cocteau do that? Have the sympathetic beast turn into the handsome guy we were all supposed to hate and vice versa? Well, remember when I said the film had homosexual subtext? Happy Pride Month, by the way. Very much like Disney's adaptation? Well, Jean Cocteau was... drumroll, please. Very, very gay, and openly so. Even wrote about it in his autobiography. And this was in the first half of the 20th century, when Europe had homophobic Nazis to deal with. And guess who was his partner? Jean Marais, the starring actor playing both the Beast and Avenant. Wait, hold on. So Jean was together with Jean? Hopefully, had they been allowed to marry, they would have kept their original last names. Because that would have been heck of confusing. These two were considered the first modern gay couple. Too bad that they couldn't make it legally official. How does this keep happening, by the way? We had a gay director for the 1946 Beauty and the Beast, a gay lyricist for the 1991 version, who heavily influenced the writing, and a gay director for the 2017 version, also from Disney? What is it about Beauty and the Beast that attracts the queer community, present company included, that makes them want to tell this story over and over again and put their own spin on it? I have discussed this before with the Disney versions, but I will discuss how Cocteau identified with the fairy tale based on his movie. The Beast is a tortured soul, rejected by the world for what he is, and that's made him both depressed and kind of bitter at everybody. He's considered a monster and an animal, just as Cocteau was rejected for his sexuality. Wasn't even allowed to join the French resistance to fight the Nazis. Oh, how ironic. Fighting against the homophobic Nazis were the same people who were also homophobic. Then, when someone he finds appealing enters his life, the Beast strives to show her, despite her preconceptions, he has a good heart and just wants to please her. But with his constant fear of rejection and life in isolation, not even wanting to see the disgusted look in her eyes, he doesn't know how to act around her. And that is the same fear that most queer people get when they try to date someone, but aren't even sure if they're also queer, or if they'll be okay with you being queer in, bi and pan cases. And these fears can lead to self-destructive, even suicidal thoughts. I mean, basically, the Beast was so depressed that he would rather die than have her not be with him. Meanwhile, we've got the typical handsome straight man, Avna. Of course, he may or may not be the Gaston to Ludwig's LeFou. Don't quote me on this, but they did seem pretty close. Avna serves as a beast's alter ego, who has done horrible things and also wishes to serve Belle and be a better man for her. But unlike the beast, he does not respect her wishes. Avna tries to force himself on Belle when she rejects his proposal. When she rejects the beast over and over, he does not lash out, but he backs off and gives her space. Oh, true, he doesn't quit, but he's still respectful about it. The only time he does get angry at her is when she talks of Avna, and he runs off to vent instead of taking it out on her, which is how men should react. It's okay to get angry or jealous sometimes, but channel that anger in the right way so you don't hurt anybody in the process. Even when the beast confesses that he'll die if he loses Belle, he gives her his treasure in that event. One, as a test of her loyalty, two, so that she is provided for even after his death. Shows that even if he dies, he won't hold it against her. Truly selfless. Unlike Avna, though he is shown to genuinely care about Belle, he still betrays her trust, taking the key and horse so that he can kill his rival and steal the treasure. He ends up not even using the key, but breaks into the pavilion of Diana, who served in the Roman mythology as a symbol of womanhood and virginity, and Avna, a man, is invading what only Belle should have had access to. And that is why he is punished by becoming the ugly thing he is inside. By the way, anyone else think Diana's pavilion is a metaphor of women having control of their own bodies? Just saying. As for the beast transformation into Avna, Cocteau did that on purpose, so that the change will be a blow to Belle, showing how absurd the happily ever after ending with the girl marrying a good-looking guy is. A sort of middle finger to the heteronormative society that he grew up in and the rest of us grew up in, frankly. Making the audience want the unconventional pairing over the conventional one. But it also serves as a metaphor of the line that love can make a man a beast, as in, go crazy, do anything for love. But it can also make a man feel beautiful on the inside, hence the role reversals. Belle also learned to stop adhering to her family's demands, and gaslighting in the sister's case. She had never been doing anything for herself, even rejecting a man she was apparently attracted to. I still don't get it. And the first decision she makes for herself is to go back to the beast. Now, the 2014 film by Christophe Gans follows almost the exact same plotline, so I won't do the whole rundown, but point out the key differences. First, the number of children the merchant, Monsieur de Beaufremont, has is the same as in Madame de Beaumont's tale. 3 daughters and 3 sons. The only time I've ever seen an adaptation involve the brothers as much as the sisters and have the correct number. And they each have their own individual personalities. The oldest brother, Maxime, is a bum and a gambler, much like Ludwig and Cocteau's version. The middle brother, Jean-Baptiste, is a writer and an artist, and the youngest, Tristan, is the most level-headed and moral of the group. And then, the sisters Anne and Clotilde are still spoiled, but oddly enough aren't as spiteful towards Belle, though they're still a little bit jealous. In fact, though there is still conflict, the siblings all seem to genuinely care for each other. And then there is a contrasting characterization of Belle, who goes from being portrayed as the quiet, reserved Cinderella doing everything she's told, to a headstrong, playful, and witty young woman. She is not forced to work for her siblings, but rallies them all together to do chores, working more as the household manager than the family's maid. Like, she gets everyone out of bed, like, come on, we're gonna go weed the garden. Get off your bums and let's take care of the place. And also, she is not really afraid of the beast. And instead of fainting when she first sees him, her first thought is to grab a freaking knife. Badass. There's also a subplot with the oldest brother, Maxime, owing money to a scoundrel named Perdiccas, and his fortune-telling lover, Astrid, who foretells that there will be a death. And Maxime is the one who proposes to storm the Beast's castle with his middle brother, the youngest one rejecting the idea and helps Belle to return. And bringing Perdiccas and his gang, despite Astrid's warnings, they storm the castle, and Astrid ends up getting crushed by a rock giant, and Perdiccas ends up changing into a tree for not going back for his true love. Yeah, I know it's weird saying it out of context, but that's pretty much what happens. The castle itself clearly took some inspiration from Jean Cocteau's film, filling the place with vines of roses and looking decrepit. It helps the film is in color, so it's much more impressive. And the whole film, in fact, is visually stunning with the vibrant costumes and scenery. And we've got these cute little puppies that for servants. The movie also shows the Beast's backstory, shown to Belle through dreams. He was once a prince with a beautiful wife and child on the way. But he was a hunter, obsessed with hunting a golden deer. Despite promising his wife to stop the hunt and spend more time with her, he persists and shoots the deer in the heart with a golden arrow, only for it to transform into his wife, who was a nymph of the forest, who wanted to know love and so took human form, and then she met him. Although she pleads to her father, the god of the forest, not to take revenge on her husband as she lays dying, the prince, you guessed it, is turned into a beast. This wouldn't be Beauty and the Beast if someone wasn't put under a spell. I give this movie points for trying to change the story up, and the visuals are enchanting, and this version of Belle just might be my favorite, next to Disney. And I mean both Disney versions. So, my third favorite. But it fails in one crucial aspect, the portrayal of the Beast. Unlike Cocteau's version, this Beast isn't as sympathetic. Actually, he's hardly sympathetic. He's much more temperamental, controlling, possessive, constantly commanding Belle to do what he asks, shutting her up, saying that she talks too much, and that, resist me all you want, you will be mine. Just what kind of talk is that, dude? At least Disney's Beast learned from his mistakes. We don't see that development here, on screen anyway. Fortunately, this Belle is so fiery that she refuses to take his crap and is determined to teach him manners and put them on equal footing. She asks to visit her father in exchange for a dance, and cheekily says, "I'll lead if you're afraid." He agrees, and it's almost a sweet moment until he asks if she could love him, and she says that he can't just break his promises. After all, how can she be expected to keep her promises if he can't keep his? Like, he broke his promise to his first wife. Respect is a two-way street, buddy. Unfortunately, their negative interactions outweigh their positive interactions. So by the time Belle confesses her love, it doesn't feel believable, at least to me. And based on some of the reviews, I guess people agree. Although the ending is very interesting, not what you expect. While the siblings move back to the city, the sisters marrying twins and the brothers publishing books, Belle and the prince live not in the grand castle, but with her father in the country house, along with their son and daughter. And the prince is humbled into a man who works the land, and they grow a rose garden together. Which would be a much sweeter ending if this beast had been actually likable, or at least three-dimensional. Okay, toxic portrayal of the beast aside, I think the movie was trying to show the importance of keeping promises and staying loyal to your loved one. Something the prince failed in his first marriage and had to learn in pursuing a new love. Really should have spent more time on his character development for people to get this message, though. And in Belle's case, like in the fairy tale, she had to separate herself from her family and accept that they wouldn't always be together. And she should not take so much responsibility for other people. She took responsibility for her mother dying because she died giving birth to her, and so she takes responsibility for her father for putting his life at risk for a rose. but she decides in the end to live her own life. In short, I love the Beauty, can't stand the Beast, but this 2014 movie is definitely an interesting watch. Well, I guess that's the end. If any of you patrons have any last-minute thoughts to put in the chat, it's now or never. And yes, I am going to be releasing all my patron-only episodes to the public and putting them on YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify with the rest of the episodes, as my Podbean account will be closing soon. You've all been so wonderful, and it's been fun looking into all these different forms of media inspired by my favorite fairy tale. Oh, okay. Thank you for your gift, Bella. Oh man, sending all these last minute pod points up. Okay. Whoa. Okay. That's wow. I guess I'll keep talking until this is all done. But what can I say except thank you so much. I hope Podbean allows me to pay this out. And that's for all of you. Okay. All right, you all get a clap. You all get some applause. Sorry, I know you can't see it, but I'm just getting an influx of donations here. All right, are we done? We out of the pod points? Okay. So again, thank you for following this podcast as long as you have. I think we can agree that the Beauty and the Beast trope at its core is about accepting others despite differences like appearance, race, social class, sexuality. It can be interpreted in a number of different ways, and it will still be a tale as old as time. I hope you've all learned something from this podcast, and that you will follow the example of Beauty and the Beast in sharing kindness and compassion to others and not make quick judgments. Yes, Bella, I agree. It's been so much fun. We can't wait to see what you do next. Lots of love. Well, you can check out my webcomic, Queer Coded, on DeviantArt. I'll also be releasing 3 pages ahead early on Patreon. And all you patrons out there who might be listening to this after the fact, the patron program will close on June 30th. Make sure that you cancel your pledge if you have a payment that's coming up before then, because I don't want you to accidentally pay for another month. And if you want to, you can transfer your support to Patreon. If you're a new listener, you can support me on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/DisneyFanatic2364. Patreon.com/DisneyFanatic2364. Or go to my Redbubble shop and buy my merch at DisneyFanatic23.redbubble.com. And yeah, I hope you've all learned something from this podcast, especially my fellow Americans out there. If we make an effort to understand others, maybe we wouldn't be such ugly people. I, of course, mean on the inside. And I don't know how many times I can say it. Thank you so much. All right, well, au revoir. Disney Fanatic 2364 out.